What's going on, boys? My name's Aaron and I'm going to be bringing you a JavaScript tutorial video on scopes. So let's dive right into the code. Let's take a look at what we've got. So right here we have our function, and inside of this function we have variable friend equals Connor, and then we're printing out our friend Connor. Beautiful, just what we want. And then we're running this function right here, log1, because that's the name of our function. So when we run this, let's see what we get. Connor. So we get Connor. So that's beautiful. That's exactly what we want. So if we take a look at this, we have a local scope right here. So we have one local scope, and that is because it is inside of this function. So if we had something outside of the function, outside of everything, we would actually be starting at the global scope. So let's comment this out, and let's go ahead. Let's take another example, and we will scroll down a little bit to look at our second example. So this is a nested local scope. So again, we're not really dealing with global scopes yet. However, we will get there. So it's similar to our first example. So we have our function log1. We run this function down here. So again, we should be getting Connor. However, we have another function inside of this function, which is the nested function, as you can see. So in here we have our variable name Aaron, and then console.log name. So you can see how we run the same variable name. However, one is in this local scope, one is in this local scope. So it is okay if you have the same variable name inside of different functions, as long as they're in different scopes. So we have local scope 1 here, we have local scope here. So it's okay if we have name in both places. However, remember, to make your code look beautiful, it's probably not the best idea to have the same variable listed in a lot of different local scopes, because it could be confusing. So let's comment this out. First let's run it. Let's see what we get. Okay, so I was right. So we get Connor and we get Aaron. It's beautiful. It's what we want. So let's comment this out. Let's scroll on down a little bit more. Let's see what we got. So we got some notes here. So global scope. So what is global scope? Let's go ahead and explain this a little bit. So right here. So variable name equals Aaron, and then console.log my name. So our variable is my name. And then we run a new function, and inside of this function you can see we're not listing a variable inside of this function. We're only running one variable. So we're not setting a variable. So this would be a local scope. However, you can see I have a note that it's printed out as global. Why do you think that would be global? I can explain it a little bit. So you can see on outside of this function, outside of this local scope, we have our global scope, which is everything outside of this function. So right here, variable, we have var my name equals Aaron, and then console.log my name. So we're printing out Aaron once. And in our global scope, when we move inside of our local scope, we are pulling my name inside of this function. So even though this is a local scope, when we set something inside of a global scope to a certain parameters, so say we have a variable, say we have my name, we use my name here. The only thing we need to do is just run it. That's all we need to do. It's not very hard. So let's run this. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we get Aaron listed 2 times. The reason why is because we have it listed here, printed out here, and we have it printed out here also. So again, global scope, local scope. However, the var my name right here, this is going to still be considered global because we are pulling it. So let's comment this out. Let's scroll on down a little bit more, and let's see what else we have here. So another example. So this is going to be our final example. So this is a local and global scope. So let's see how this works. So right here we have var my name equals Aaron, and then function log3, and then we have no parameters inside, but inside of this function we have our friend 1 equals Connor. We run my name. Again, we're pulling it from the global scope, so that's the reason why we're going to get Aaron here. Then console.log friend1, so we're printing out Connor right here. And then function, so we have a nested function, so we're getting our nested function here. So we're running another function inside of a function. Right here, var friend2 equals Daniel, so we're pinning out Daniel here. So again, we have our local scope here. We have our local scope here. But the reason why we're printing out my name Aaron here is because of our var up here. So, and then we run both of our functions. So when we run this, what we should get, yes, that's right. So Aaron, Connor, and Daniel. So that's beautiful. That's exactly what we want. So now, fun fact of the day. Variables are local to the country. So what does that mean? So when we have local variables, so let's look up here. So when we have a local variable right here, we are setting this variable in a local scope. So that means anyone inside of the United States of America, because that is where we are, would be able to use this. They would be able to use this. However, outside of America, outside of the US, whatever, it's in a different country, they would not be able to use this. And that is because this is inside a local scope and this is inside of a global scope. So in a different country, they would be able to use this. This would be able to be found. So let's take a look at a little bit of notes. Let's see if we have any other details on scopes to see how well we can help each other out. So when we look at the code, how can you tell what is global and what is local? So let's go back down here. So let's look at this a little bit more. How can we tell what is global and what is local? How can we tell? The answer is actually functions. So again, say we just had all of these variables listed. Say we're just gonna make a mess here. We're just gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna get rid of this. All of this nonsense. Now let's run this. It's gonna be a mess. We still get it. The reason why is because everything is now in the global scope. Everything is now in the global scope. But when we use those functions, we bring in local scopes, which makes things a little easier. Sometimes putting things inside of local scopes, or maybe sometimes using things in global scopes, helps us run things a little smoother. So going back up here, you know, local scope, this is our nested scope. We have this, local scope 1, local scope 2, and then we use our other examples for global scope. So there's just a little bit of information on some scopes, and hopefully that helped you all out today. So again, Aaron's JavaScript tutorial on scopes. I hope this helped you out today. If not, that's okay. We can all do our research. Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.